Alright, we're back. We're here on WCW Monday Nitro. We're here for the April 17th, 2000. We're also going to be recording the April 24th episode of Nitro in this episode of TEW. Saving WCW. Let's get straight into it. The fallout of Spring Stampede just happened, so now we are off the pay-per-view. Some great things happened on the pay-per-view. Scott Hall made his return, costing Kevin Nash and Scott Steiner the tag team titles. Some other great things happened. For example, Booker T and Jeff Jarrett, WCW title match. Vampiro cost Sting the United States Championship. Lance Storm now holds the U.S. and Television Championship. And tonight on Nitro, he gets an opportunity at the Cruiserweight Championship and Christopher Daniels. So we're on the pre-show. Eric Young and Robert Roode get a victory over Shaggy 2 Dope and Violent J of the Insane Clown Posse ICP. And the only reason I brought the ICP in is because they have decent popularity and they can job some undercard guys, try to get them over, like Eric Young and Robert Roode. We got a 5-on-5 tag match next. It is the Second City Saints, Ace Steel, Punk, and Colt Cabana, and the Bad Street Boys of Joey Matthews and Christian York. They're facing off against the Harris Twins, and 3 count. Punk gets the win, hits Shane Helms with the Pepsi Plunge. And some decent in-ring action here, especially on the part of the 3 count. Unfortunately, Punk was off his game, so was York, and so was Shane Helms. But it's fine, 45 on the pre-show. We got a 3-on-3 tag match next. It is Chavo Guerrero teaming up with Psycho Smile, because I know you guys, a few of you mentioned that Psycho Smile for Psychosis and Norman Smiley would be a good name, so I figured why not. I also gave them a finisher called, I think it's the Crazy Grin, or something like that. And they get the victory over Tony Marinara and the Diamond Swingers of Johnny Swinger and Simon Diamond. A decent match here, just to get Chavo and Psycho Smile a win on the pre-show. We're opening the show with Scott Hall cutting a promo on costing Kevin Nash and his reason why he did so. He says, I got injured, and the first thing Kevin Nash does is try to replace me. That shows his loyalty to me and our friendship. So he turns around after I get injured and finds the first Scott he can find to replace the old Scott. Well, the old Scott is here, and Kevin Nash will no longer be here by the time I'm done with him. 61. Jeff Jarrett gets a win over Lash LaRue with a submission, hits the figure 4 leg lock, and 57. Jeff Jarrett then cuts a promo. He says, Booker T thinks it's over between me and him, but it's not even close. I'm still coming for the WCW World title. Booker T, you're not getting off that easy, pal. 71 right here. We're backstage. Jeremy Borash interviews Lance Storm and Roddy Piper of Team Canada. Storm holds the Television and United States Championship, and tonight he has an opportunity to hold 3 titles within WCW as he takes on Christopher Daniels for the Cruiserweight Championship. 63. Billy Kidman gets a win over Juventud Guerrera, hits that shooting star press, and the 1-2-3. 67. Afterwards, Kidman cuts a promo and out comes Rey Mysterio. They're exchanging words, and they're going to settle it once and for all on pay-per-view at Slamboree. 49. Vampiro has got a promo vignette talking about costing Sting. He doesn't like Sting. He doesn't like what Sting stands for, and he will bury the icon of WCW. 39. Kurt Hennig and Dustin Rhodes celebrate winning the World Tag Team Championships. And out comes Scott Steiner, the former champion. And he wants those belts back. But Kevin Nash is occupied. He's dealing with Scott Hall. So Scott Steiner needs to find a new tag team partner. But tonight, Dustin Rhodes takes on Scott Steiner in our main event. So 72. Lance Storm wins the Cruiserweight Championship, hits Christopher Daniels, locks him into the Canadian Maple Leaf, and Daniels taps out, and Lance Storm now holds 3 singles championships in WCW. And he's going to rename them next week. Don't worry. 72. The Triple Threat cut a promo. Shane Douglas, Chris Candido, and Bam Bam Bigelow. And out comes the Road Warriors, Animal and Hawk. And they want a 3-on-3 tag match next week against the Triple Threat. They have found themselves a partner. And so next week, Douglas, Candido, and Bigelow face off against the Road Warriors and a mystery partner. 63. Mike Awesome cuts a backstage promo. Unfortunately, he sucks at cutting a promo. talks about the veterans of WCW and how he is the career killer and he will take out the old generation. 35. Our main event, Scott Steiner gets the win over Dustin Rhodes after interference from Rick Steiner. And Rick Steiner is going to debut a new gimmick called the Braun Breaker. I'm sorry I had to make that joke. 61. And afterwards, the Steiner brothers beat down Curt Hennig and Dustin Rhodes, and it looks like the Steiners are back in business in WCW. And unfortunately, the show rating was not that great. That's unfortunate. Whatever. It's not the end of the world. We'll pick it up next week. And the Steiners are back. It was drastically needed. We need good tag teams in the tag team division that are actually over. And I need something for Scott Steiner to do in the meantime of him getting his world title push. So in the meantime, Scott Steiner is going to be meddling in the tag team division for the time being. And, yep. Let's get to next week's Nitro because we're not done. We've got one more, so we'll be right back in just one moment. Alright, we're here, April 24th, 2000, Nitro. We're on the pre-show. Insane Clown Posse take on Joey Matthews and Christian York of the Bad Street Boys. And Christian York gets the win over Violent J. And gets a 42. Not too shabby. We're opening the show with Booker T, the world champion, cutting a promo, and out comes Jeff Jarrett. And they're exchanging words back and forth. And Hulk Hogan comes out. And so, Hogan also wants a title match, of course, because he's Hulk Hogan. So what's going to happen with this is, on pay-per-view, we're going to see Booker T versus Jeff Jarrett versus Hulk Hogan for the WCW World Championship. And this gets an 81. We're opening the show with a triple threat versus Animal, Hawk, and Sabu, who is their mystery tag partner. And Sabu pins Shane Douglas to get the win with the Arabian Skull Crusher. Gets a 61. Jeff Jarrett and Lex Luger, the Sunglass Boys, are backstage, and they come to the reasonable conclusion that they have to take out Hulk Hogan. You know, Jarrett says that to Luger, and Luger's like, what, take him out on a date? And, like, Jarrett's like, no, kick his ass. I'm like, oh, okay, got it. So tonight, they're going to make sure that Hulk Hogan doesn't walk out of Nitro unscathed. 71. The Steiners cut a promo. I forgot to put Dustin and Kurt in this promo, but just pretend that they're there. So the Steiners got a promo, and out comes the World Tag Team Champions, Curt Hennig and Dustin Rhodes. And they don't want to wait for the pay-per-view. You know, they don't want to wait for Slamboree. So what's going to happen is tonight, Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner are going to challenge for the World Tag Team Championships against Dustin Rhodes and Curt Hennig in our main event. 53. Christopher Daniels gets a win over Shannon Moore in 8-17 with the Angels Wings. Gets a 58. Lance Storm and Roddy Piper are cutting a promo, and Lance Storm renames the titles that he has. He has 3 belts. First, the Cruiserweight Championship has been renamed to the Maritimes 100 kilograms and under Championship. The television title has been renamed to the the Calgary Top Prize title. And the United States title, of course, has been renamed to the Canadian Heavyweight Championship. So now Storm holds 3 Canadian championships. 47. But the Second City Saints don't like that. They come out. And they all want an opportunity to face Lance Storm. So I don't know what's going to happen with this. We'll find out next week, I guess. 47. Sting cuts a promo on Vampiro. Says that Vampiro couldn't bury him if his life depended on it. Sting will make sure Vampiro never sees the light of day again at Slamboree. 79. Mike Awesome takes on the returning Stevie Ray and absolutely destroys him in 5 minutes. I have to take the dock off of Mike Awesome. Afterwards, Mike Awesome destroys Stevie Ray with a chair, and out comes Booker T, stares down with Mike Awesome, and Awesome just leaves the ring peacefully. So, this is just to build up Mike Awesome and Booker T. There's not going to be a feud between the two for at least a couple months, maybe even a year. So this is just planting the seeds. 72. Rey Mysterio cuts a backstage promo on Billy Kidman. Gets a 56, surprisingly. I was expecting like a 30. Of course, Mysterio will face Billy Kidman on pay-per-view. 56. Psycho Smile get a win over the Young Dragons when Norman Smiley pinned Kaz Hayashi with the crazy grin. Tell me what the crazy grin is. I have no idea what the move could be. Smiley has the Norman Conquest. I don't know Psychosis' finisher. I don't know what he uses. I don't know. We'll find something. 58. Luger and Jarrett attack Hulk Hogan backstage, beat him down. Jarrett smashes a guitar over Hogan's head, and this gets a 70. Kevin Nash comes out, cuts a promo, and out comes Scott Hall is in the crowd. He's in the audience, and he has a microphone, and he says that, you know what, Nash, how about this, you and me on pay-per-view at Slamboree. So 82. And our main event, Rick and Scott win the tag team championships when Scott Steiner pinned Kurt Hennig while holding the ropes for leverage. We have new World Tag Team Champions on Nitro, and they are the Steiner brothers, a 75. There we go. That was a good episode of Nitro. We've got 2 more Nitros to build. That'll be next episode. I will record those right after, and we're also going to have the pay-per-view on that episode. Yeah, some pretty decent action here. I'm happy with this. Devin Storm's going to Wildside. That's good for him. Violent J is really angry, but he's not he's like done next week or whatever. So let's look at our champions. The Calgary Top Rise is Lance Storm. That's the television title, of course. Canadian Heavyweight is Lance Storm. And the Maritimes 100 kilogram and under is also Lance Storm. World Heavyweight Champion is Booker T. He just passed 100 days as the World Champion. And new World Tag Team Champions, 8-time Tag Team Champions, Rick and Scott Steiner. Alright, that was it for this episode of WCW. We'll see you guys in the next one, as we're also going to be showing Slamboree next episode. So, have a good one. Goodbye.